Today, we are talking about launching a publishing company in 30 days. Whether you're just kicking around some ideas to kind of get you out of that 9 to 5, or maybe you're looking to create some sort of side hustle, or maybe you're ready to jump right in. Either way, this is the place for you. My name is Carly, and I started a publishing company that brought in 6 figures in its first year. And that allowed me to leave my 9 to 5 job and work from home using only my laptop. I really felt inspired by that. It was a major lift that I needed. And so I created a playbook on everything you need to start a publishing company. And part of that playbook is this that I'm talking about today: launch plan in 30 days. Um, I will say, a lot of people will ask, is it really 30 days? Yes, for some. So if you complete these steps in 30 consecutive days in a row, you will be working a full schedule for 30 days. Now, you don't have to do it that way. You can split it up. You could take weekends off. You can go on vacation in between, however, you want to complete it. But if your preference is to get it done in 30 days, it is going to require some hustle, right? All right. So I have a printable checklist for you. It's basically what I'm going through. There might be a little more information on it, but it's a printable checklist that you can just literally done, done, done. Mark off your tasks as you go through them. Just comment below, I'm ready, and I'll be sure to get it to you. Let's get started. So we're going to break this down week by week. Okay, so we'll have 4 in total. The first is basically just foundation and setup, right? Okay, so day one. What are you doing on day one? Well, you're defining your niche and your vision. And this is important. I don't want you to try to cover it all, right? But also don't box yourself in. And I'll talk about that. You're going to want to niche down some. Like, imagine you have an audience and you've built your audience around, I don't know, let's go with Southern fiction. And then you find a great book that you want to represent, and it is sci-fi. Well, you have an audience that's buying Southern fiction. You throw in that sci-fi book, and they're going to be like, I don't know what to do with this, right? So you want to niche down, but you also don't want to take some things off of the table. Like, if you are working with Southern fiction, what about historical romance? What about a nonfiction book that kind of is in that realm of history, or maybe the region that you're in? You want to make sure that you're niched enough to build an audience, but not so boxed in that you can't provide something for everyone in your audience. Okay, day two, you're going to choose a business name and you're going to secure your branding. So I would be sure to include a relevant title like publishing company or the word publishing. This is basically just going to make sure that you show up in search engines if someone is just saying, hey, show me publishing companies that publish Southern fiction. You want yourself, your company to pop up, right? So consider putting that name in there, the word publishing. Day three, you're going to register your business. So you'll need to decide, am I going to be an LLC, like sole proprietorship? You'll need to register that with the IRS and possibly with your state. You'll need to check your regulations, but also you're going to need an EIN. Okay, day four, we are creating your branding assets. All right, so I want you to create a brand kit. And be sure to stay consistent. This is basically just your logo. What colors are you using? What fonts are you using? What style do you have? Is it, happy, upbeat? Is it very classy? Is it modern and sleek? Is it a little scary? Maybe you're gonna put horror out there. You want something a little dark and creepy. So whatever you do, stay consistent within that brand kit because people will start to recognize you. Okay, day five. We're going to set up a business bank account, and we're going to set up certain tools that help us in the finance department. So you're going to start a business bank account, and you are going to keep your business finances very separated from your personal finances. I cannot stress that enough. It's very important. Um, be sure that you have some kind of software that you can use that will help you to keep those things separated, to keep all of your business stuff together. Make sure you don't miss a deduction or a receipt. I like to use QuickBooks, but you can use whatever you want. Okay, day 6. We're going to research publishing models. Okay, so there's Amazon KDP, there's Ingram Spark, there's BookBaby. There's different ways to get books actually put into print and distributed. You're also going to need to decide what formats you want to provide, right? So there's like paperback, there's hardback, there's ebooks, there's audio books. My suggestion is to stay with paperback and ebook when you launch. That's where I would stay. Now, when you get into, further down the road, maybe you want to add audiobooks. Maybe you have a book that it just seems like it should be hardcover. You can always add those things later. But hardcover is more expensive to print and it's a little harder to sell because it has to be a higher price. So I would stick with paperback. And then you need to explore ISBNs, barcodes, copyright information. You'll need to purchase a batch of ISBNs. So you'll want to look into that and see what, that is going to entail. Day 7. Okay, day 7, you're outlining your first book or product strategy, right? So do you have a book written? That is a great place to start. If you have a book already that you can put out, that's like you're working out the kinks, and it's okay if you don't get it just right because you're your own client. You're not going to be mad at yourself. Otherwise, this is a great time to start thinking about how you will attract clients, right? Okay, week 2 coming up. Week 2 is all about product creation and infrastructure. Okay, so kick it off with day 8. So, day 8, you're going to develop your first product, right? So, this is if you've written your own book, that is awesome. If not, someone else's book, that's okay. You're going to create a plan and make sure you've got that book in place, right? Okay. Now, day 9, this is where it gets a little trickier. So you're going to need to hire some folks or to contract out some work, right? And this is going to keep it very simple to you. It's something I talk about in my course, Publish and Prosper. Um, the first step is going to be editing. Well, unless you are phenomenal at editing and just have a lot of spare time on your hands, you're going to want to find someone who could edit for you. um, who are you going to use for illustrations? Do you have any books that need illustrations? What about cover design? And how will you format your cover and interior? So there are definitely some tools that you can use that kind of automate that process, that make that much simpler. Um, you could look into Fiverr, you could look into Upwork. It doesn't have to be super expensive. Day 10. Day 10, you're planning your publishing workflow, right? So this is just outlining each step of your plan. You're going to add to this a million times, but in the beginning, there's some very basic steps. There's writing, obviously, editing, formatting, cover design, and uploading. Those are the basic, like 5. These things have to happen. You're going to want to add to that later, but for right now, we're going to create a checklist of what each client, what part of, the process they're in. Just make a checklist of everything they have to go through to get from I have a book, a manuscript, to I have a book. Okay. Day 11. Here's where you're going to need to decide on a publishing platform. So we had talked about some KDP, Ingram Spark, Lulu. You're going to want to go in and create an account, and I would just play with it. Become familiarized with those, whichever you choose to use, just so it'll make the process faster in the future. And then also, what are you going to do about direct sales? Are you going to sell through distribution channels like Amazon and smaller indie bookstores? Are you going to be in libraries? My preference is Ingram Spark because they do all of that stuff for you, but Amazon has great distribution also. That's another option. Day 12, we are learning formatting tools. So there are two things that I want you to really put some research into. The first is Atticus, Atticus. That is a fantastic program for formatting books. So they do have a charge. It's very inexpensive. I think it's around $100, and it's a lifetime membership. It is well worth it if you're going to run this type of business. The second thing I want you to be very familiar with is Canva, Canva. So this is across the board. You can use Canva for so many things. You'll use it in marketing and promotion and just to create lots of content. It'll help you with your website. It will help you with cover designs for books. You need to be familiar with that. So I do offer a course. It's called Design to Shine, where I teach you all of the basics of Canva. Very quick. Well, it's not quick, but we actually go in the duration of this 2 hour course, and we work on some things together. So you're actually going to be in there and playing with it and learning how to create with Canva. Day 13, decide on your pricing strategy. So you're going to need to do some research, some market research within your niche. What are books selling for? What is a too high price point and books aren't selling? What are you willing to pay for a book? You're going to want to do a little bit of research on that, but also you'll need to decide on a percentage that you're willing to spend on royalties. So when you have authors come in, that is how they make money. That is how you make money. You sell books, you pay them royalties. So what is that percentage going to look like? And you can do some research on that. Not hard to find a lot of information out there on that. Day 14, you're going to set up your company website. So this could be as simple as just creating a landing page. If someone looks up your company, they're going to land on a page that's on the internet that says who you are and what you're about. You can also just take it a step further because eventually you're going to want to. You're going to need a basic website. And this could be a simple 4-page site that's got like an about section, books that you have for sale that you're representing, an about you page, the about was the first one, a contact form where they can reach out to you and ask questions, but also submit their manuscripts if they want you to consider them. And then possibly a newsletter sign up. You could add a blog. There's a plethora of things, of pages that you can add to a website, but start off pretty basic because remember, we're trying to get this all set up in 30 days. Research what web developers are going to have the tools that you need. I like to use Squarespace. It's very simple. It's intuitive. It's like drag and drop kind of thing. That would be my preference, but there is a cost to it. And I know you can get some free websites. I would say about a website, make sure that you can sell and accept payment. That's going to be important when you start selling books. On to week 3. Okay, week 3 is all about content and marketing plan, right? So, day 15, here's what we're doing. You're going to write a brand story. And this is basically your backstory. It's going to be why you started the company, but also highlight what makes your brand unique. In addition, those things will go on your website. Just keep those in a good place because you're going to use those a lot. But also, in addition, you're going to need to write an author bio for the book that you'll be representing. So, if that's your book, you're writing that author bio. If that is someone else's book, they are writing it. You're just kind of overseeing that process and making sure that everything's in there. And I do have a freebie on creating a really great author bio. You can grab it on my website, carlymichelle.com. I think I might have a video out about it. I can't remember. All right, day 16 is create social media accounts. So you're going to decide what social media you want to be represented on. I would go with what you're familiar with, but Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, however you want to do it. I wouldn't try to do them all. It's going to be a whole lot of work. You can always add later, but if you start pulling things down or not paying enough attention to one account over another, people are going to notice that, right? So just pick a couple that you really want to get just perfected, and then you can add more. Be sure to use your branding. That's important. Include your bio. Make sure you've got a bio in there so that they know how to push you through their algorithms and people have a clear understanding of what you offer. And then always include a link back to your website on your social media accounts. That's always very important. Day 17, we're going to build an email system. So a lot of websites have like built-in email software that you can use, and a lot of them will automate your emails. So they're sending them out as soon as you get someone that comes in and signs up for your newsletter, they automatically get that first welcome email and you don't have to do anything. So check and see if that's offered through your web provider, but if not, there's plenty of other programs out there that you can use. I also like MailChimp. There's Constant Contact, MailerLite, Flowdesk, things like that. You can kind of research and figure out which ones work for you. And then you're going to create a lead magnet. So this is something that you're giving away for free. And this is important. This is going to help you build your audience and build your email list. If someone signs up for your newsletter, what are they getting? They're going to want something to do that. Like, I'm giving my email, what are you giving me, right? So you're going to create something. Now, this could be very simple. It doesn't have to be difficult. It could be something as simple as a free sample chapter of the book that you're putting out. Well, that's very easy. As long as you have permission from the author, you're giving away a chapter of the book. That's going to help draw people in. They're going to get excited about it. You could do something that's geared towards writers, since you're going to be representing writers. You're going to have writers that are interested in you and your company. And so maybe something like how to outline a book. And it's very simple to create in Canva. You can make it pretty and then it's sent directly to them when they sign up for your newsletter. What about a list of writing prompts? Writers are always looking for new writing prompts to use to kind of get creativity going. So you're going to create your freebie on day 17. Day 18, we're going to design a pre-launch content calendar. So you've got to have a good bit of content that you're able to put out. And this is just a plan. You're not creating 30 days of content. You're creating a plan for 30 days of content. So this needs to be kind of a mixture of stories versus reels versus carousels that are for Instagram, tweets. You just want to go ahead and have in place 30 different things that you can offer um, that are right at your fingertips. They're saved on a file on your computer. Day 19, we're going to create 3 to 5 of those pieces. So you're going to go ahead, you have that little bank, right, that you're starting on your computer. Go ahead and start creating some of those. Canva's perfect for that. It could be anything from how I started my journey. Share how your journey is going. People love that. It's like a personal connection. What about like the process of book creation, like those day in the life videos, a day in the life of a publisher, niche insights. You could research your niche and come up with some things that people might need to know about. Informational posts versus personal posts, people kind of want a mixture of all of them. So go ahead and create 3 to 5 of those, save them, kind of bank them up, and you're going to be adding to that bank pretty regularly. Okay, day 20, we're reaching out to collaborators. So, who are collaborators? You could connect with other authors. You can connect with editors, maybe like niche influencers. If you can, be shown on an influencer channel, that's going to guarantee you some views. You just want to get your name out there, right? So, in planning for cross promotion, you're going to be looking for other people that can and are willing to talk about you. So, could you be a guest on a podcast? You can go on Facebook and look at groups that are like need a guest or podcast guests, and they will tell you what they're looking for, and you can kind of tweak what you're doing so that you can be a guest on their show and speak to the topic that they're wanting to represent. You could also do guest blogging, like, just be interviewed for someone else's blog. Speaking of interviewing, you could do radio, your local TV station, just saying, "Hey, I've started this company. Would you be willing to put it out there and interview me?" If you have some concerns about interview questions, I do have some of those on my website. It's a freebie, 25 interview questions for authors. It's not really specific to publishers necessarily, but you'll get the gist by looking through that list of things that you could be asked that you have a ready answer for. But you can also have the author answer questions and do interviews also, and then it leads back to your publishing company. Day 21, prepare your book for publishing. So, this is where we're really going to get into that timeline for authors that you've created. You're going to finish your final edits. You're going to get your cover design finalized and ready to go. And then you're going to want to make sure your formatting is done. Whatever formats you've chosen, like I said, I still think paperback and ebook, those are great starters, but you're going to need to format a paperback book much differently than you'll format an ebook. And again, I use Atticus for that. It's super simple. It does it automatically for you. So that is all you've got to do for day 21. And we're finally on week 4, which is actually going to be a week and 2 days, right? Because this is the 30-day plan. This week is all about launch and promote. So day 22, upload. So you're going to upload to your print platform, whether you went with Ingram or KDP, however you're going to get those books in print, you're going to upload your manuscript to that program with your cover. It's all going to come together and be this pretty book. You're going to need to add a description, categories, and keywords, right? Because you want to be discoverable. So you need to make sure you've included things that will guide people back to the book. And then you're going to schedule your release or your go live date. Go ahead and get that on the books. It doesn't have to be right after your 30 days. You just want to get one on the calendar, make a date. And then, as soon as you've got that book put through and it's been approved, you want to start ordering copies so that you have some copies on hand and the author has some copies on hand. Day 23, we're going to start a pre-launch buzz, okay? So this is going to rely heavily on your social media accounts and your email list. You're going to announce that launch date. You're going to announce when your grand opening is, and you've got that first book that's going to be available for purchase. Offer sneak peeks. Or maybe you could offer bonuses. You could do a discount for the first how many ever people come on and purchase copies of that book. Day 24, we are publishing your first email newsletter. Again, it seems like a daunting task to write an entire newsletter and create great graphics for that. Canva makes it super simple. You're going to share your company's launch story first. Everyone signed up for your newsletter, that now they want to know what are you actually about? What are you looking for? What do you represent? What are your vision and goals? Promote that book launch. Maybe offer that discount in your email newsletter so that your those that have signed up for your newsletter are the first to know about a discount. And I would start asking for submissions right here in this newsletter. Hey, I'm open to submissions. So start sending those manuscripts. Day 25, you're asking for reviews. So reach out to friends and family, those ARC readers, ask how get their opinion on the book. But another step you could take would be simply asking, how they could support your launch. Can you share my social media pages? Can you, how can they support you in this launch? Day 26, we are hosting a soft launch. Okay. So you're going live with that first book. You're taking real sales. Now, by then, that book is either almost ready or ready to go, and it can be purchased from the website. You're not going to have copies in hand just yet, but ebooks are made available right then, right? They're pretty instant. So you can go ahead and start selling books, selling ebooks, and you'll see some sales start coming in. Day 27, you're going to go live on your socials and maybe host a Q&A. You're going to want to tell your story, and you can make that through video. You could make that through a carousel on Instagram. People like videos, so I always encourage people get comfortable in front of the camera. Um, you could do a Q&A with your new author. How about going live on Facebook and doing a Q&A with the author? You could walk through the process of how you created that first book, everything from manuscript to an actual published book. All right, day 28, run a promotion. So you're going to talk about the book launch discount everywhere you go. You're going to try to get some sales coming in as quickly as you can because it's going to give you a little boost. It's going to give your author a little boost. Maybe you could offer a discount to local bookstores. So most bookstores will sell your books on consignment, meaning they purchase at a discount, they keep the difference. This is a great time too to connect with libraries. You're going to want to have a well-established relationship with your librarians. So find the libraries in your area, give them a copy of the book. If you don't have actual copies in hand, promise to bring one by. A lot of libraries have local author sections where they will catalog that book and make it available for checkout. Also, while you're there, just go ahead and offer to do a Q&A session with the author. A lot of libraries, especially during the summer or on the weekends, will have guests come in that are presenting something for their patrons. So maybe you could do a quick Q&A on that. Day 29, evaluate and collect feedback. So track your sales, look at your website visits. What are you doing right? What's working? Where's your audience coming from? Because that's where you want to focus a lot of your attention. How are your social media accounts doing? You're just going to do a quick check-in, see if you need to tweak anything there, but you're also asking for customer feedback. So, do you have anyone that's willing to comment on that book? Are they willing to write a review? Did they say something great about the cover design? Make sure that you're placing those reviews and feedback on your website, but also on your social media pages. And day 30, create, celebrate, plan your next step. Okay, so now we're celebrating. You are creating the official launch. You're announcing, hey, here it is. This is it. This is a real thing now. You're just wanting to celebrate that with your audience, with anyone who might be interested in, hey, a publishing company. I might be able to publish with them. You're going to go ahead on day 30 and set some goals. You're going to want to do 30, 90, 120. Go ahead, however you want to set your goals. You just want to make sure you've got something that you're working towards. And then finally, you start prepping your next book. Look through all of those submissions that you're going to be receiving by now, weed some out, get them kind of down to what fits your niche, what you're comfortable representing, and what's going to make money, right? We don't want to represent a book that we can't sell. So go ahead and figure out through all of those that have come in, what am I excited about? What am I ready to move on with for the next step? And you can also, this is a great time to go ahead and create that client onboarding system where you get a new client, they've submitted to you, you've accepted. Now you've got to get a contract written. You've got to get their author bio, their author photo. Those are all things that you're going to need to have in some onboarding tasks. I have 2 courses that are going to further your knowledge on starting a publishing company. The first is Publish and Prosper, and that is where we set up the groundwork, everything from legal all the way to creating your brand. How do you create content? How do you have a plethora of content at your disposal? How do you get the word out about the books? I also have one called Behind the Spine, and that's where I really go into more of the day-to-day operations. So just that onboarding tasks. What needs to be in the email that a new author that's just signed a contract with you, what do they need to do next? Well, I'm going to tell you step by step. They need an author bio. They need an author photo. They need to give you some cover ideas. Maybe, even a sample. They could go to the bookstore and say, I like these 3 covers and send them to you so you can at least kind of follow their vision on what they have for their book. I go through all of the day to day to make sure that you're staying safe, you're doing things correctly, and you're keeping your clients moving through the process. I urge you to check out those courses on carlymichelle.com. And don't forget my Canva course. It's very important because you are going to need to create a ton of content. So thanks for joining and good luck.